I was supposed to book my trip to Morocco on February 13th, but the day before that, my mom woke me up, and she was crying, and I kind of rolled over in my bed, and I said, "Dad's dead, isn't he?" And she said, "Yes." And I sort of expected that I would start crying immediately, it being one of the watershed events of my life, a parent dying, but I didn't. And I kept thinking I would cry when I saw his car, because we had a lot of memories in that car of road trips to Italy and Denmark and places, but I didn't. Well, it would be when I saw his studio and his sculptures. Well, it didn't start then either. It would be when I saw his room and smelled his smell and saw his clothes. And no, it didn't start there either. And I started thinking that I was a pretty terrible son, that I hadn't loved my dad as much as I thought, that I had been deluding myself into thinking that I loved him in the summers that I saw him, that the distance had between us had been a distance in my affection for him from where we were to that of a normal father and son. And normal never really described my relationship with my father in any sense. But I still hadn't cried, and I wondered when I would. And 3 days passed, and there was my dad's casket with a cross of yellow roses on top, and the coffin was lowered into the ground. And I had been certain, absolutely, totally certain, that I would cry when that occurred. I didn't, and the priest said, "Mesdames et messieurs, please walk by and with this little shaker shake holy water." And I paused at the edge of the grave and looked down at the box with my dad's name on it, and something inside me pretty much broke, and I sagged to my knees in the mud, and I cried completely out of control for about 5 minutes. I couldn't control my facial muscles. I couldn't control my breathing. I couldn't see because my eyes were pinched shut. My face was burning hot. I kept saying, "Dad, Dad, Dad," over and over and over again. And someone, to this day I don't know who, came up behind me and put their arm around my shoulder and sort of helped me to my feet and guided me away from the grave. And then we all went back to my dad's huge house and looked at my dad's sculptures and told funny stories about my dad. And some of the stories were unkind, but they were told with love, about how pompous he could be, or wasn't he pretentious, or remember when he got drunk and said this. And it was a tonic. It was sun bursting into a dark room. It made everybody feel better, and we laughed, and we acknowledged the genius of his creativity and how he was imperial and tough and still had more Southeast Kansas in him than he liked to acknowledge. And I acknowledged that I had had a superb father with whom I had a tremendously close, loving, good, rich, and rare relationship. And I looked at the sculptures that he had made with his hands, these beautiful figures of men and women that he had made out of clay on just armatures of metal that I couldn't even dream of approaching, the skill with which he did it. I realized how lucky I was to have had him for a father. And I never ever made it to Morocco that February.